Joining me, try to get some insight on all of this, is a Republican member of the Senate Intel Committee, James Lankford of Oklahoma. Senator Lankford, thanks for coming back on the show, sir.
You bet. Glad to see you again, Chuck.
Let me start with this. Define the word collusion as far as this committee is concerned.
So let me back up and define one other word, open and closed. Open and closed to the committee deals with the issue of we've gone through all the testimony we need to go through. We've interviewed everyone that we need to go through. That portion is closed because we've got everything we need. Open still means we're still in the investigation process. There are still people that we have not interviewed yet. So it's not a matter of it's an open question we don't know. It's an open question, meaning we haven't finished everything that deals with this and can close it and wrap it up. So that's the open-closed portion of it. The collusion issue obviously is an issue of did any American work with a foreign power to be able to influence our elections? That's the key question that still has to be resolved, and that's why it's still open, still unfinished. We still have, after 100 interviews, we still have additional interviews to go because, as you know, you do one interview, they quote several people in the interview, then we go interview those individuals.
Where would you say the investigation is? Are you at the midpoint? Was this a halftime update?
No, I think this was a timely update, but I wouldn't call it halftime. Hopefully, we're past halftime, but we have a lot of things and a lot of questions that we've not stepped up publicly to be able to talk about it in a while, and we thought that everyone, every person in the media, every person that's an American needs to be able to hear the investigation's still ongoing. We've not forgotten about it. We've not stopped.
Let me ask you this. Is it wrong? Is the president wrong to refer to all of this as a hoax?
No, I think it's a legitimate investigation. There are a lot of questions that are out there. There's no question the Russians were trying to interfere in our election. That's not a question that's unresolved. That's been very clear.
That's a fact. That is hard to you, period, underline. Russia
I have no doubt.
Tried to interfere. The question is...
I have no doubt.
The question is, did they have help?
Correct. Well, the issue is not do they have help or were they trying to help one side or the other? Were they trying to help every side? The Russian model in the European elections have been to try to create as much chaos as they possibly could. We've seen that also in our election process where they're trying to create as much chaos as they possibly could. It's the same thing they do on any kind of divisive issue. When there's a divisive issue in American life and Americans start having a loud public debate, the Russians will step in and try to amp the volume up. Their goal is to try to destabilize every democracy in the world, and this is one way they're trying to do it.
I'll admit to being surprised at how much detail both senators went into as far as the Steele dossier is concerned. How important of a piece of evidence is this to your investigation?
That is an important piece of evidence, only in the sense of some of the accusations that are out there. The hard part is we don't know who paid for it still. We still don't have all the sources and the facts behind it. Again, the Russians have been very good about playing all sides of an election, trying to be able to release out as much as they could to become to create chaos in the process. So that's an essential portion of it, is to be able to meet with Chris Steele, to be able to get the information, to be able to know who paid for it, who sponsored it, and to be able to verify sources. Currently, it's unverified.
Well, what I found fascinating there is that apparently so your committee investigators are trying to rebuild it, essentially, trying to put the pieces together and have succeeded to a point?
I would say that's a hard one to be able to answer, and I want to be able to go into all the detail on it. We're working on it. The FBI is working on it. Everybody's trying to be able to establish what facts can really be established, what facts we can establish, and what areas where we can't establish that's completely false. So we're trying to chase down all three of those aspects, and it's important we get as much information as we can.
You define collusion as this idea that an American may have helped Russia, and so that also doesn't necessarily mean the collusion. You're leaving open the possibility it's Americans that may not have been associated with any campaign.
Sure.
Are you pretty?
Again, that's still just as illegal.
Yeah, absolutely. How confident are you that the Russians had to have had some help from an American, regardless of their affiliation?
I would say I'm not confident in that. The Russians don't have to do that. Again, they didn't have that in other European elections. They stepped in and tried to find a way to be able to affect it. They could certainly read the newspapers here in the United States and get a chance to watch other programs to be able to find out what are battleground states, what are the key issues. Again, their specialty is being able to find on social media where is their division, and they amp up that division by, again, creating bots and troll farms to be able to just increase the noise. But this statement that I've heard from several people to say they were targeting battleground states. It's not as if it was a secret what is a battleground state. Right. I could tell you the battleground states for 2020 right now. There's no grand secret of that or political insight. They have their own team to be able to establish how they're going to strategize and what they're going to do.
All right. When we talk about who's been cooperative and who hasn't. How would you characterize Facebook and Twitter? Have they been cooperative, or has it been a challenge to get them to fully participate in this investigation?
I would just say we have a ways to go to get full cooperation there. They're very aware of how their platform has been used. Obviously, they're an open, free speech platform, and they want to allow everyone from all around the world to be able to participate in dialogue. But when it talks about influencing an election, that's a unique thing for them. They have algorithms. They can track what's a troll farm, what's a bot. We want to know what they're seeing, how it came in, how they're tracking it, and what they're going to do to be able to push back on that platform. This is a free platform. They don't have to allow everyone to be able to participate. If it's hate speech, if it's a foreign power trying to interfere in an election, they don't have to allow that. What we want to know is what did they do to see all of the ads, because many of the ads, if you were to see some of these ads that I've seen so far, if you were to see some of them, you would be stunned by some of the issues they were trying to use weren't election issues. They were just divisive issues.
Right.
So we want to be able to see all of them and to be able to get good context for that. And it's important the American people also see that so they can recognize in some of these platforms what's real and what's not.
I was interested, your Democratic colleague, Mark Warner, says Facebook should release all of these ads. If you have them, well, why aren't you releasing them? Why don't you guys release it?
You know what? That we don't do that in the Intelligence Committee. What has been submitted to us, regardless of what it is, we hold that. That was submitted to our committee. We'll work with any individual, but if those things are going to be released, Facebook needs to be able to release that directly because they're the ones going to answer for that. So regardless of who brings us information, we're closed in that setting, and we're not going to release that out.
Before I let you go, this issue between the Secretary of State and the President, do you have confidence in Rex Tillerson as Secretary of State?
I do have confidence in Rex Tillerson as Secretary of State. He's doing something most secretaries of states and most people that walk into a bureaucracy wouldn't do. That's engaging in trying to reform the structure of it. Restructuring any federal agency is just hard grunt work, and it's very difficult to do and takes a lot of time. And he's taking that on. And I'm proud of him for taking that on because it should have been done a very long time ago. It's much needed for our international diplomacy to make sure we're more efficient in that area. So he's a solid leader. He knows how to be able to do that from restructuring he's done in other large organizations. And I hope he stays on. If he was indeed disparaging the President of the United States, is that a fireable offense? I'm obviously not in that conversation. The president can make a decision on how he wants to do that. But obviously, I didn't hear any kind of disparaging comments. I've spoken many times to Rex Tillerson. He's always been very positive, the president, in private conversations with me. So I'd be surprised if he wasn't in other private conversations. All right, Senator Lankford, I'm going to leave it there. Senator Lankford, Republican from Oklahoma, thanks for coming on, sharing your views. Appreciate it. You bet. Thanks, Jeff.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.